Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India, Durban, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Mr. Prasheen Maharaj, Dr. Sheetal Bhoola, Mr. Sipiwe Mchunu, Mr. Piyush Khandelwal, and online viewers. Good evening and a very warm welcome to the 10th episode of Pravasi Samvaad Diaspora Dialogue. Our guest speaker for today is Mr. Prasheen Maharaj, who will be interviewed by Dr. Sheetal Bhoola. Dr. Bhoola is an academic and research scholar. She holds 2 master's degrees and a PhD in the social sciences and has a growing publication record. A little background on Mr. Prasheen Maharaj. Prasheen is the CEO of Sandok Austral and a multi-award-winning business leader. He is a noted deal maker, having secured a number of multi-billion rand projects for his organization. Prasheen is known as a conscious capitalist and is a firm believer that business should contribute to the greater good of society. He sits on the boards of Durban Chamber of Commerce, eThekwini Maritime Cluster, and AMDs. I now invite Dr. Bhoola to conduct the interview.
Well, good evening and a warm and hearty welcome to our special guest, Mr. Maharaj, and thank you for gracing us with your presence here and to be with us. And I think more importantly, articulate, share with us where you're at, where you come from. We've all heard about you on this magnanimous international platform. I mean, BBC featured you. You've been renowned and revered by international journalists, the media. And interestingly enough, I mean, the reality is that it's all come from within. And, your inner direction of where you want to go and what you achieved and where you've reached so far. So thank you for gracing us with your presence here. Thank you for making us the time. We know how valuable your time is. And as we've briefed as well, I mean, we stand here today, I think more importantly, we want to serve an inspiration to everybody out there. That any sort of inclination that want to enter the world of shipping, anybody that wants to understand the in-depths of it, what it takes, and you are sitting behind the driver's seat today. And more interesting enough, you're not even within the engineering framework like you explained. Yes. So I think for me personally, that is an example of somebody really accomplishing their dreams, despite going against supposedly outlined framework of what you need to study, where you need to be in order to achieve X, Y, and Z. Yes. So let's start from the personal side. How would you interpret life?
Yeah, namaste, Sheetal, and thank you for that very glowing introduction. And it's indeed a privilege and honor to be here on this very prestigious platform, reaching out to a global audience. My philosophy in life has evolved, from the time I was in school to the time I went to university, started work. But where I am now is to say in all that I do, it must lead to the greater good or the betterment of society, So that is my purpose. That is my core drive at the moment. Obviously, when you start off in business, you want to say, let's make money, let's make profits, let's create wealth. And then, as you begin to evolve on Maslow's hierarchy, the profit maximization and wealth creation takes a bit of a secondary seat. And you begin to say, how can I contribute to the betterment of society? So that's where I am from a philosophical point of view. My personal belief systems is based on the acronym of PAIR, P-E-A-R, and it stands for perseverance, excellence, achievement, and reward. Because, for me, if you don't have those 4 ingredients, you're never going to succeed in business specifically and in life generally.
Absolutely. Now we know, reaching the top is not easy.
Yes.
Let's talk about your growth and a bit about your journey and
yes.
And of course, I think the fine balance between managing the peaks of success and then of course managing the lows, which goes part and parcel, with business world and entrepreneurship.
Yes. So for me, I think for me, success, first of all, I believe is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe that you are going to be successful, you will be successful. But we mustn't be naive to know that life, as you said, has peaks and troughs. for me, if I win 51% of the time and lose 49% of the time, then I'm winning. You know, it's naive to believe that you can always win and always be successful. And I think one of the greatest failures in society or shortcomings in society, we don't teach our kids how to fail, and we don't teach people how to fail, and make it accepted that failure is part of your journey of success. So for me, learning how to fail, and I failed many times and very early on in life as well, has actually helped me to become successful. So that's very important for me as a business person, because you know, sometimes when you encounter failure, that's when you stop, and you are about 1% away from success, but you just don't know how to persevere. So for me, the being successful means being able to handle failure. Being successful means persevering. Being successful means to achieve excellence, and obviously the reward at the end of the day as from a core value system. But you know, as you said, the journey is hard. The journey is hard, and if you're not prepared to, so cliched, put in the hard work, you know, then you're never going to succeed. More importantly, I think we mustn't have the herd mentality, because as you said in the introduction, I'm not an engineer. Yes, I did an MBA, I did an undergrad in finance, and I went and did a further master's in supply chain, another further master's in strategy. But you find in any field, whether it's engineering and IT, it's all about driving business. So if you know business and you know how to manage business and you know how to inspire people and create innovation and foster creativity, then I think you will be successful.
No, thank you. And if we have to go to the flip side, I mean, now understand the depth of success, you understand its worth, its value, how it's contributed to your quality of your life and where it's taken you. If we look at adversity, how did you cope? What was your coping mechanism? What approach did you use? Was there anything that you relied upon? What brought you up? What altered your decisions, the thinking, the mindset?
Okay, the first thing about encountering adversity, you must be egotistical. And that's what I am, because you must believe that no matter what the challenge in front of you, you will win, you know? And if you can't win, then you find a way around it. So you must know when to push your way through and when to retreat and go on the side. That's the first thing. You must be egotistical. You must have a great deal of self-confidence and faith in your ability. The second thing, no man is an island or no woman is an island. So you must have a network of support in your home environment, so they don't make your life worse and they give you encouragement and the necessary support. You must have a network of friends, a network of business associates, because you know, when you're facing adversity, it's like going to war. You're at war, and you cannot win a war. You can only win a war with an army. And it's so important. You know, people tell you in business that you must network, and this you network to achieve success. You also network to have a group of supporters who will enable you to overcome adversity. And as I said, sometimes you can't overcome that adversity. So you must know when to give up, find a resting place, recollect, revive yourself, and then move forward again.
No, absolutely. And if we go to the nitty-gritties of your business, one of the first learning curves that you had coming in, like you said, you know, into the space that was unknown territory for you.
Yes, indeed. So I was very fortunate in that initially when we went in, we didn't go in alone. There were 4 of us, and 2 of them were marine engineers. So we all had a role to play in our business. So having this commercial and financial background, I took the role of CFO and, you know, dealt with all the commercial issues. But, you know, building ships, repairing ships, both for the commercial sector and the Navy was so exciting that I was able to learn very, very quickly. And I've always been blessed. Somehow amazing people come into my life, you know, and sometime for a reason, sometime for the season, and hopefully for a lifetime. And I was blessed that I met many amazing people. I was also fortunate that we were in the right space at the right time in terms of when government wanted to drive the maritime economy to reach its full potential, and government placed a great deal of emphasis on transformation. And as a previously disadvantaged individual, government gave us opportunities to be able and gave us support. And so we almost became at the forefront of the industry because of government's intervention in terms of effecting the transformation imperative. And we were very fortunate about that. So we had a lot of support, and the learning curve was indeed steep. But once again, no man is an island. We had lots of colleagues and both partners inside the industry, outside the industry, various stakeholders from civil society were able to support our growth, able to support me in my personal growth. And obviously, I'm hungry for knowledge. I always tell people, you know what, I read a lot. Not necessarily only books, but magazine articles. I attend conferences. I watch webinars. I was really hungry to learn, and I learned quickly. And I'm a fast learner because I think I bring everything down to its simplest form. And if you can understand the things at its simplest form, then you can extrapolate further and understand the complex aspects of building ships and repairing ships.
And we touched on this briefly. If you must highlight a bit about your family and your personal support and your fan club.
Yeah, so
and the influence in your life.
Yeah, so as I said, I was very fortunate in that the right people come into my life at the right time. Right now, my family, I have my wife, Masina. She has supported me throughout my career because I met her 1 year after I'd started in business. So, and you know the hustle of an entrepreneur. And she was able to say, okay, you know what, we can have a KFC burger for date night as you're saving money, And I have two wonderful kids who are not burdensome, they're independent and they're lovely. I grew up in a very poor family. For the first 16 years of my life, I lived in a house with 40 people and with outside evolution facilities and that we all shared. But I was also very fortunate in that my mother's brother was a businessman, and he always gave me holiday jobs, and he spoke to me and kindled an entrepreneurial spirit in me. In fact, when I was, I'm quite surprised at this. When I was 13 years old, Standard Bank had a national business competition, and I won it. And I was quite surprised because coming from a Black community, a previously disadvantaged community, that at that time that we were allowed to participate and win. So my father was a priest. God bless his soul. He was not a businessman at all. He encouraged me to take the safety of a job, but he instilled in me he was a priest, and he always worked tirelessly for his community, as priests do, with very little reward. He instilled in me, and that's why now, when I have achieved a little bit of success, I'm adopting that same approach. What can I do for my community? What can I do to address the high levels of unemployment, the low levels of skills? How do I address the issues of enterprise development? I think that comes from my father. And the issue of perseverance, I think, comes from my mother, because she had a very, very low paying job and persevered that we must get our own house and move away from that house where we lived with 40 people. And she slogged tirelessly and was able to find that house. And so if you look at my background from a personal family point of view, I was very fortunate. I was always supported. And then when I ventured into the big bad world of business, when I was doing my MBA, I was very fortunate to have met the father of Black economic empowerment in this country, Don Mkhwanazi. And he took an instant liking to me, and we became friends. And when I was 26 and 27 years old, I was sitting with the president of the country having dinner, because Don was that connected and powerful and had access to ministers. And we made representation for parliament, and I was making the representation. I was 28 or 29. So I was almost like catapulted into the big business sphere without necessarily having to work my way up. And I was fortunate. And so those were all the early influences in my life. And later on, there's too many to mention, and too many partners and people who gave me breaks and opportunities, and people who cooperated and collaborated with me too many to mention, but I think I was very fortunate in meeting the right people, growing up in the right environment, facing abject poverty, because in 1992, when I finished matric, my father got retrenched. He was 47 years old, same how old I am now. And he never found a job again until he died in 2018. So, facing that level of poverty and understanding the value of money, and, you're driven by this thing, you should never go back there again, So you kind of have no option but to be relentless in your pursuit of success.
Absolutely. And define your top 5 values for us.
For me, in terms, as I said, I have a value system, and I said it is driven by this perseverance and excellence. The other thing is, I don't associate myself with mediocrity. Mediocrity is like a swear word for me, and it's a sign of failure. For me, I believe that if you are blessed and if you have been given a lot of opportunities, you must give back as much as you can in various ways. You mustn't be selfish and hoard. Self-centeredness, people of self-centeredness is one of my pet hates. So for me, it's a negative way of expressing the value, but self-centeredness is something I don't subscribe to. For me, creativity, it's I know you can't define it as a value, but there's so many challenges in the world. Creativity and innovation is the way we're going to change the world and make the world a better place. And I really treasure that trait. So for me, I don't box myself into believing that this is my value system, but I kind of subscribe to kind of traits and actions that one must take and by which one must live their life on a daily basis. I believe that, once again, as I said, no man is an island. So cooperation and collaboration is a key part of my value system. I don't like to work alone. I like to work with people, and people who compliment me, people who will challenge me, and not just people who say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. So yeah, Sheetal, how to answer the question? Because, I don't consider myself a simple person. So quite varied in my outlook, depending on the situation I find myself in.
No, thank you for that. And thank you for the in-depth explanation. It gives us the understanding too of how you function and
Yes.
how you connect with others as well. And if we have to go back, I know you spoke a bit about your upbringing. Let's look at the culture your Indian heritage has played in your life. And what's its influence? I mean, how has it impacted you professionally, personally?
Remember, I told you my father was a priest, Hindu priest. My father's brother was a priest. My father's mother was a priest. So I grew up in a very, very, very religious household. But primarily doing as priest, do the ritual part of it. But doing the ritual part of it, I kind of stumbled and learned about all our Vedas, and read some great stories, and that really influenced me, because the biggest thing I believe in is karma, and therefore, even when no one is looking, I try to do the right thing. I always try to do the right thing because I believe so much in karma. And then, as I transitioned to adulthood, I became less ritualistic, because as a Hindu, I believe there's 4 ways you can practice Hinduism. It's by the rituals, or the acquisition and dissemination of knowledge, or it's by practicing yoga and meditation, and by serving humanity and animals. So I'm in the space in the last 5 or 6 years where I'm on the latter 2. So I believe I practice Hinduism by taking care of my body, doing the meditation, doing the yoga, and by doing as much good as I can through our company and through our family foundation. And I think I am a good example of a Hindu by doing that. Obviously, culturally, being divorced from India, I don't know how Indian I am. I probably don't own a cultural outfit just on Diwali day or when someone gets married. I unfortunately cannot speak Hindi.
What about the food?
Oh, food. Yes, yes. So I mean, we love Indian food at home, you know, and obviously there's the South African Indian food, and there is the proper Indian food now with obviously South Africa. Lots of Indians coming to South Africa, having set up restaurants here. So we order regularly from some of the proper Indian restaurants. Actually, my favorite version of Indian food is Indo-Chinese food. It's like the best thing ever. So, but I kind of do it in moderation because Indian food is delicious, but it's not the healthiest things ever. So we kind of try to eat healthy and keep up to 1 or 2 Indian meals a week. But the Indian desserts are my Achilles heel, you know.
And if you've got to look at incorporating anything in particular about your Indian heritage into your globalized lifestyle, is there anything one particular besides your yoga and meditation?
Yeah, so you know, I think during our initial discussion, I did indicate to you that because I'm Indian and I wanted to go global with my business, the first place I opened my global office was in India. So I have an engineering office in Mumbai. So that has now launched me as a South African business into a proper global business. And for me, obviously, India is one of the fastest rising economies in the world. And if you look at the biggest CEOs of all the big technology companies in the United States, and they've taken over a lot of businesses in the Middle East and Dubai, I think using my Indian heritage, it makes it easier to network. There's some kind of thing, oh, I'm Indian, you Indian. Somehow we don't know each other, but we trust each other for some reason.
There's a shared identity there, you know, there's a shared,
yes,
you know, there's a commonality amongst the roots and you can identify with that.
100%, you know,
and have that, maybe your feelings of belonging may have been enhanced now through having a location in India as well.
No, 100%. And it made it so much easier because what we have been able to do, despite limited travel to India between 2020 and 2021, is that, yes, they are these big global Indian conglomerates that have a presence in Africa. But below them, there's that tier 2 and tier 3 businesses that have amazing products, amazing services, that want to come onto the African continent, but don't have a clue. Now, with us as an African-based business opening up an office in India, we have actually become a conduit for those businesses to be able to do business on the African continent. So it's not only us giving business there and them bringing business here. You know, it's proper bilateral trade, because often India only thinks of Africa as a dumping ground for their services or their products. But now those guys are wanting to take stuff beyond just commodities from Africa into India as well. So by our presence there, we've certainly been able to encourage global trade. But more importantly, I suspect it's my Indian heritage that is making me easier to do that because it's hard to find people in Africa they would trust. So as a person of Indian heritage or Indian origin, I think they find it much easier to trust me and do business with me.
Absolutely. So you've accomplished so much. What are your future aspirations, goals for the next 10 years, maybe where you want to be? What do you want to do?
My goals are no more financial. It's just by the natural process of doing business and doing business the proper way, I think organically the business will grow. My goal is to take African businesses globally. So we've launched our first office in India. We're looking for the second office in the United States, third office in the Middle East. But we're talking not just representative offices, proper operational things, employing lots of people. Like with India, our next phase is through a partnership, is to open factories in India, because the Indian government wants a number of defense products from South Africa, but they have this Make in India strategy. So we've got to operationalize our factories on the ground with local Indian partners. Same thing for Middle East. They want technology from South Africa, but they said, let's localize in our home country. With United States, they're developing amazing technology. And I think by opening an office there, we can bring the technology into Africa, because the United States sees Africa as a very small place and not worth their while to put a lot of time, effort, and energy into developing the African continent. So as we provided the bridge from India into Africa, we're going to do the same thing, provide the bridge between US and Africa. My biggest challenge is the high level of unemployment in South Africa. And I really want to try to continue with our skills development and expand production facilities so that we can create more employment in the country. Most importantly, I am pushing this agenda that you should not be having a job. I want to encourage entrepreneurship and self-employment, because that is what South Africa needs. We don't need more people looking for jobs. We need more people creating jobs. So I really want to encourage entrepreneurship. So one of the big things that our foundation does is have this entrepreneurship development program and leadership development program, so that we instill skills and confidence in people to become self-employed or start small businesses where they can employ other people. So I'm saying the concept of a job is being outdated. COVID came and lots of people lost their jobs. We saw thousands of people becoming retrenched in South Africa. We saw state-owned enterprises collapsing and not paying salaries. So for me, as I'm telling people, use your skills to benefit yourself, not necessarily an organization. And that's one of the biggest drives that I am putting forward as my agenda for the next 5 and 10 years.
Okay, and wonderful. It sounds all exciting. And what message can you leave for our younger aspiring individuals out there? The economy is tough. We're also riddled with political worms. So I think your advice will be appreciated. And from somebody with so much of experience.
Yeah, so the advice I give all the young people out there is the same advice I give my children, or I give my children. The first thing, Sheetal, as I said, don't be afraid to fail, because it is a natural part of life, because kids get afraid to fail, and then they get afraid because then they won't try, because they think they will fail, and they may not realize their full potential if they don't try. I always say the person who's guaranteed not to fail is the person who does nothing, right? So, and kids have so much potential in them, but we instill the fear of failure in them, so they don't realize their full potential because they don't try. That's the first thing. The second thing I preach to them is that you must follow your passion. If your mother and father want you to become a doctor or an engineer, or all these traditional, very high-profile jobs, you don't necessarily need to do that, because when you follow your passion and become what you want to become, you'll never work a day in your life. There's so many people I know that go to work and they hate it. They hate going to work, but if you do what you love, then it's not a job. And I promise you, if you have a passion for something, you'll try very hard and you will achieve an insurmountable level of success, So I always encourage people, do not be part of the herd. Travel the path less traveled, because those are the people that's going to change the world. And when one looks at the world, it's in desperate needs of changes. I also encourage my children, be leaders, don't be followers. Be leaders. You don't need to have a title to be a leader. You can be a leader without a title, but convince people, encourage people, do good in society. You're never too young to be able to do good in society. Even a person who's in grade 5 can read, can go to a home of children and read to them and entertain them. So, from a very early age, start giving back, start paying it forward. And try to make them define what success is. Success is not only money. So yes, it's important, and important to have as much of it as you desire. But your health is important, your happiness is important, your psychological well-being is important. Having a network of loving family and friends is also important, because young people often desert their family and friends in pursuit of other things. But as you said earlier on, when you face adversity, you can't face it alone. You've got to have this army of people who are with you. Because one of the things that is very big amongst kids these days is depression. And it's increasing at a exponential rate. And so, because they under pressure to perform, then the pressure to keep up with social media and clothes and all of these things. And the biggest thing, I would say, all of that comes from a lack of confidence. And you must build your level of confidence so that you're not easily influenced, and be happy with yourself and who you are. So I have 1,000 more things to say to kids, but but in essence, follow my thing of care and build a level of confidence, and be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Oh, no, thank you so much. And thank you so much today for your time. Sincerely appreciate it. On behalf of our ICCR Center at the Indian Consulate, gratitude to you. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you for that enlightening discussion, Dr. Bhoola and Mr. Maharaj. We've now come to the end of the program. I'd like to invite my colleague, Mr. Sipiwayam Chunu from the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India, Durban, to render the vote of thanks this evening.
Namaskar and greetings to all of you. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, I am honored today to deliver a vote of thanks on today's program, Diaspora Dialogue Episode 10. Allow me to thank our online guest, Mr. Prasheen Maharaj, who is a South African business leader who had a sterling interaction with Dr. Sheetal Bhoola. She is an academic. When I was listening to Prasheen ji, he's full of wisdom. I learned so many things. It's like I can just listen and listen and listen and listen to him, because, whatever he was saying, we learned a lot. And thank you very much, sir, for narrating such a wonderful story of your journey in business. And also I've learned from you that, if you have the humble beginning, and if you have the religious beginning, as you were saying, you will go places. I can see humility in you. I can see that you are the humble man. So to Prasheen ji, thank you very much, sir. We really enjoyed your presence this evening. To Sheetal Bhoola ji, Dhanyavad ma'am, thank you as always. Right. To Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Ms. Asya Nabi, Mr. Piyush Kandelwal, thank you very much for taking part on today's program. To all our online participants, I'd like to say thank you for taking part on today's program. You are kindly advised to visit ICCR in Durban Facebook page for more information on cultural activities organized by Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Durban. Once again, to Prasheen Maharaj ji, thank you very much, sir. To Dr. Sheetal Bhoola ji, thank you very much, ma'am. To all of you, have a wonderful evening. Namaskar.
Siyabonga Masnkwane.
Sabo, that was it. No, we really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. It's very interesting. Humbleness pays. I can see your humbleness. It is written in your face.
No, thank you very much, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Baba. Thank you.
Thank you.